Welcome to a regular scheduled board meeting at Pocahontas School District. I'm going to open up for Dr. Arbuckle.
Correct. We have not had anyone request to speak tonight, so we'll move right on into our informational items. The first informational item you have in your packet is our annual SRO MOU. This is the agreement that we sign with the city each year that provides the 3 school resource officers to the district. There's no substantial changes in this document from previous years, and so just letting you know that I did sign that document and turn it back in so that we are good to go for the upcoming school year. Obviously, if there's any questions about that agreement or any concerns, be happy to address those. Otherwise, just bringing that to your attention as an informational item as we do each year. Any questions or? Okay. Our second informational item is just wanted to bring you up to date on the plan for maintenance of our roofs. We've been talking about maintaining our facilities. Tonight we wanted to kind of talk about the roof, and so I've asked Craig to kind of lead the board through what that looks like and what we've decided to do on that roof maintenance. So Craig, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So as you guys know, we talked about this previously, we've had some issues in our M.D. Williams gym, 5th grade hall. We've got multiple issues over here, the junior high building, mostly where some of those new additions have been added on to older additions as throughout the years that we built. This last school year we had an issue in the high school gymnasium. So that's led to, we had a company come in, do some things for us. Still having some issues, so we reached out to some other companies that came in, give us some quotes, walk the buildings, walk the roofs. Kind of what we've settled on is a local company, the Roof and Gutter Pro, out of like the Paragould, Brooklyn area. What they have come in and given us, there's some detailed, they're working pictures of what all they've found on those 3 buildings. So what they'd come in and do is they would do some work that had to have repairs. So it'd be like actual material repairs. So there would be a little bit of upfront cost to that to replace some of that material. And then after that, what we would look at to do would be getting able to get an agreement with them for X amount of dollars. What they're going to do is they would like to set us up for 5 years. We're not locked into anything. So if we don't like the service we're getting after a year, we terminate, no problem. What they would do is they would come in, they're going to pressure wash, they're going to replace all the old screws, make repairs, check the seals and the gutters, remove debris, really just check on our roofs, get on really what they've told us. They're probably going to do 80% of their work year 1. They're going to go and they're going to check every single screw. Go through the gutters. They're going to try to.
I have a question real quick. I hate to interrupt you, but if we move forward with a building project with a new high school, if this happens to come to pass, how would that affect any contract?
So again, we're not locked into anything. Just be year, but actually have them bid out what it would take for these 3 buildings, and then go reassess and do a bid if things go our way with the new high school. And so they took off about $2,500 off of what they
So that's been adjusted into their
It has. Yes, sir. It has. And so that's kind of what we looked at. I've talked to him multiple times with Rick, Dr. Arbuckle, and I met with him again last week. That's who we felt the most comfortable, kind of like what they had to offer. Really, it's almost kind of an insurance policy for us if there is issues moving forward after they come in and do their initial, and then they would be here to do bi-yearly, get on the roof and go walk through. It's going to save them money in a sense if they're prevented, and that's really what they said. Once they come in year 1, year 2, replace, repair, then it's all about prevention moving forward year 3, 4, 5, if we stay with that.
I don't think we have a copy of that. Do you have the mounts on there?
Yeah. You want the copies or the tell you?
Just tell us, yeah.
So the upfront cost would be $8,500 on one repair, and then would be $3,500 on the other. And then
What was the 85?
what is it?
That's the initial cost.
Yeah, that would be to replace material where things have gotten rusted through. Some of the replacement material they would have to come in. And then when we're on all three buildings, it would be a $14,000 yearly agreement. And again, that's for maintenance, anything else that we would need moving forward.
If a leak arises during that year, do they fix it for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the question I was gonna ask.
Yeah, that's the agreement. So again, it's kind of an insurance policy for us. They come in, they repair the initial, then they're getting on the roofs. That's what I was saying, it's gonna be better for them. They're gonna try to come in and really replace every screw, every hole they can in year 1 or 2.
Now, if I'm right, this is roofs, gutters, and siding?
Not siding, we just roof and gutters.
Does this include the elementary school?
No, it does not.
So it includes the MD, junior high. What about our outbuildings?
Yes.
Covers those two.
Yes.
What about administration building?
We do not talk about the administration.
Okay.
This is more thinking about, like I said, your buildings with your metal roofs. From what we've heard from multiple companies is, whenever these roofs were purchased, we got very high quality material. The installation was done poorly, in other words. But what we got, they say is lasting. You don't need a new roof. We're not trying to sell you a new roof. What you've got up here is high quality material. You did a good job picking out your materials at the front end. However, the installation may be what's causing your issues, and that's what we're going to fix.
But you're talking about a 5-year contract with,
5-year agreement. Again, we're not necessarily locked into anything. So, we can relook at that if that's an issue. After first couple of years, we can renegotiate. We can look into that. But we're not married to anything.
Any other questions for Craig? Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, Craig. Okay, so we are moving on to our first action item. You have there the Act 503 resolution. You may remember that, I don't know, it's probably maybe 4 weeks ago at this point, maybe 6. The board had voted to create 6-year terms. Okay, so we talked about a 4 versus 6. The board had voted on a 6-year term. I think I had mentioned at that point that we would have to come back and actually pass the actual resolution. So in working with Rebecca, we have 2 separate resolutions because there's also, we've surfaced at various times the board's what the board would like to do in regards to zones. So you have 2 resolutions in your packet. The first resolution is one that only deals. So this is Act Resolution term length. This one deals only with the length of term. So if you skip down there to section 2, regard the staggering of the terms, you'll notice that it's very clear that on the 2026 election, we have 3 positions available. That's position 2, position 4, position 5 will be up for election. You'll notice that position 2 was extended from November of 25 to March of 26. Position 4 is adjusted from 2027 to 2026, and then position 5, the current expiration was 2026, so there's no change in that position. You'll notice that in talking with Rebecca, we don't, we talked about the need to ensure that we don't have a majority of the board turning over at any one election. And so Rebecca's recommendation there is that the 3 members elected in 2026 shall then draw lots. 1 member will serve an initial term of 4 years, expiring in 2030. The remaining 2 members will serve initial 6-year terms, expiring in 2032. So if we go down to the 2028 election, then you have position 3 that would be up for re-election in 2028. That was no change. Position 1, which would not typically expire until 2029, would be re-elected in 2028 to serve 6-year terms that would expire in 2034. So you'll notice this sets up a process where in 2030, 1 member of the board would be up for election. In 2032, you'd have 2 members. In 2034, you'd have 2 members. And then in 2036, you'd have another 1 member again. And so you maintain the integrity of the board with every election.
So you won't have an election but every 2 years?
Correct, yes. That is right. So you have, that would be 1. If you just want, the board just wants to deal with the length of terms, this would be the resolution that we would pass, that you would pass. There is a second resolution. It not only deals with the length of terms and does everything that we just talked about, but it also allows the board to transition elections to at-large elections. So rather than being elected from your zone now in an at-large election, which is what the district was prior to the development of the zones, any resident, any district resident from across the district could run for any position, but they would have to designate which position they're running for, right? So if somebody wanted to run for position 5 or position 4 or position 2 in the upcoming election, they would have to designate when they completed their paperwork, which position are they, who are they challenging, which position are they running for. That can, that transition from at large or from zones to at large would then be active at the passage of the resolution. So in essence,
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Dealing with that, can that be done at any time?
it can. That is my understanding. So if the board chooses to pass the resolution on just the term limits, the board could come back and say, okay, we want to address the zones at some later meeting. That would be up to the purview of the board.
Well, I know, here's the thing, reading this that concerns me. You got 3 positions, that's majority of the board. And we're trying to get away from that by, staggering here.
You will have to have one election that's going to be 3 board members.
I mean, there's 3 of us if we decide not to come back, then you could have very inexperienced, 3 very inexperienced people.
But nothing's going to change. I mean,
We can't change that. There's gonna be 3 of y'all going up no matter what.
No, but I'm talking about if we do this, well, that's right.
Well, if you did
Just
away
whether
with
we
the
open it
zones,
up for
would be a
everybody.
free-for-all. I mean, everybody could run.
Yeah.
There may not be necessarily, well, like last time, you didn't even have anybody in your zone that ran against you.
Right.
there's pros and cons. You could get a zone where we got one guy and we don't want him on here or person, or you could have you want to open it up to where you have more variety. There's pros and cons either way. So
I
yeah,
can see good and bad with both.
yeah.
My only concern is opening it up with all the other things that we've got going school-wise this year. If you open it up and say, okay, never mind about the zones, those don't matter anymore. Then you've got millage, you've got bonds, you've got 3 school board members, and then if you throw on, okay, well, ignore everything we've tried to get you to understand the last 4 years. Now anybody can run. But then you open it up too, you may have 3 people that band together and I want to be on school board because they have an agenda or whatever. You just have to be careful.
Yeah.
And
Well, I've asked a few people who live in my area, certainly in my zone, they said, we know you. We like having zones because we can come to you
Yeah.
with a concern and you can take it, to the superintendent, to the rest of the board. So there's some pros and cons to both sides.
There are, but I also think that when you open it up to anybody, now you get people who are running for the school board because they want to. I mean, you stick with the zones and you don't have anybody in your zone. Let's just say you decide you want to step away, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
Now there's just an empty seat and nobody's there.
After this election, we won't ever have 3 up at one time, correct? Again, it'll just be 2 at most?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's kind of, and I don't know, there's 3 people in this room that's, I don't know what their decision is, whether they're gonna be back, But I know in the past, it's hard to get people to run the school board. It's hard, most years there's not.
Well, that's why I think opening the zones would
So.
allow you to get some people
Well,
on
that
here.
would be good
Yeah.
at large, but then again.
I keep asking everybody who's gonna replace me, and I haven't got a taker yet, so I mean, it's gonna be hard enough finding it in my zone. My zone
Well,
goes from
if y'all
Country Club to
remember-
the Roble edition,
Which is crazy.
and Stokes.
No, y'all remember last year, I wanted to get a new superintendent in place, because I've been, it's time for me to go. But I couldn't find anybody that wanted to do it. Here's where I'm at, is because there's 3 that we possibly could, there's 3 numbers in here, and the way that draws up. And I think Jennifer made a good point, there's a lot going on. If we can do this anytime, I would prefer to just wait and make a decision on the zones at some point.
Yeah, but the flip side of that is too, even if 3 people band together, what can they do? The election's already over.
Yeah.
They can't do anything, any decisions we make prior to the election, they can't change them. So the big decision on the school situation will be
I'm
made.
50-50.
They're gonna be made by the time of that election or on the day of that election, so they're gonna be there a little bit too late to make any significant changes, in
Well-
my opinion.
But on the flip side, of that, there's Chad, Brett, and me. There's a lot of experience here. If all 3 of us got beat, where would it leave y'all?
We would, yeah.
Well, I don't think the zones really matter. I mean,
Well, I think it's gonna limit your number of people that
Yeah, I mean, 'cause I mean,
possibly
frankly,
beat
I
office.
know of 2 people who have reached out to me about potentially running for the school board, and in this next election, they can't, because they're in the zones of the 2 school board members that aren't going anywhere. And I think they're viable candidates, but
Yeah.
they just have to sit on their hands until they want to run against myself or Jennifer, because they're in our zones.
I know there's good points
You know
on
what I mean?
those.
So I don't know, I'm not saying I have the right answer, but I just feel like the at-large thing is, you're more likely to get candidates who are running because they want to run for school board, not because they feel obligated to work, they're in your zone and they don't like what you've been doing, so they just want to run against you to get you out, you know what I mean? Versus someone running with good intentions.
I think in my personal opinion, in fairness to the superintendent, it's less likely if we're zoned and there's 3 of us, and if we want to do away with the zones and then there's 2 at one time, after that. But I don't know that it's favorable to the superintendent that there possibly be a change of 3 people at one time.
Yeah, I will say that, so I'm going to share this. There is a mechanism, if the board, whatever happens, whether you're in zones or not, if there's no one to run for a particular position and that position becomes vacant, there is a mechanism for this board to fill that spot,
Right. So if
whether
the
you're
board-
zoned or not, right? So I think that's just interesting information that just because nobody runs doesn't mean that the board, it actually, for 30 days, I think it actually provides more control for the board because you actually would take
And we've done the same.
applications.
Chad was appointed on an unexpired term. And we had several over the years, we've had a lot of people just couldn't complete their term, for various reasons. That's
So-
not a big issue.
I'm not sure that has a bearing on,
Yeah.
but it's just more information.
Can we go back to this?
Yeah,
Like
you want to table this for now and,
I mean, just in the meeting, like, can we
Oh.
think about it a minute in the meeting?
Yeah.
and go back to it?
so you want to move, is everybody okay with moving on to item 4.2 and circling back to 4.1?
Yeah.
Okay, so item 4.2 is a Perkins request. So Mr. James has requested the district allow him to purchase a Shop Saver CNC plasma system from Perkins funds. Now, these funds, the cost of the plasma system is $30,000. The cost of the funds are not, like, we're not paying for it. The Perkins funds, which are controlled by the co-op, is paying for it. The co-op board has already approved the purchase of this, but there is a line item in federal legislation that says if the co-op entity is going to purchase something that is above, I believe it's $10,000 from Perkins funds, it has to be approved by the local school district as well. So in essence, what this board's being asked to do is to give permission to the co-op to go ahead and purchase the machine to then give to, or on behalf of Mr. James.
Like the recommendation, we extend that to the co-op.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the purchase of the Shop Saver plasma system. Everybody in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
I get to try it out.
Those things are cool.
You
I like
can be guest lecturer.
I may buy one next year.
Okay, so we've come to item 4.3, which is the millage election resolution. So the board has been discussing and talking with our advisors. We have Mr. McBride from Stevens. We have Todd here from our architect, and we have Brock and Nathan and TJ from Nabholz. Did I get that right? I'm always afraid I'm getting TJ and JT mixed up. So if I do that, I apologize. But I'm gonna blame, something. So obviously, they're here to kind of share with us what's necessary or what's needed. Our goal for this evening is to be able to provide Michael with what he needs as our financial consultant to move forward with the millage election. And so I'm going to turn it over to him and let him kind of walk you through what you have. You have in your packet the resolution and the app packet. You've had a little while to look at that. And then you also have the school construction approval document as well.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Good to see everybody again. I did put you together a little folder. I know Dr. Arbuckle did provide you a lot of that information beforehand. Just to kind of walk you through this, the right side of your folder, this packet, is the informational packet. I think this is helpful to walk through, make sure there aren't any questions. And then the left side is the action, which is the resolution, which authorizes the board to proceed forward with the election and publish the proposed budget expenditures. First, I'll walk you through the information. So the first packet here is the bond election strategies packet that we provide. What this does is on the first page, page 1 of this, just give you some quick hitters of information for you as a board to know. So the election would be held on November 18th, 2025, as we have discussed. The current ask and the way these documents have been set up is for a 2.95 mil increase. I'll look at that, how that kind of shakes out for you here in just a second. That would move you from your current 3.281 to 35.76. Below that is a chart that shows you regionally where you stack up. So you can see the first gray line is where you currently sit, and then below that is where you would move with the proposed increase. And so this is Randolph County, every county that touches Randolph County and all the districts within that group of counties. So kind of regional. I can add or subtract, or, I know a lot of times Nabholz puts together some really good marketing material. However you want that to look, we can make sure that's available. And then the next page gives you some thoughts on election strategies. I'm not going to go through these, but really the kind of the high point here is, think about how you got elected to the position you are currently in. Those are the people you probably need to talk to help facilitate a successful millage campaign. But one big thing, you cannot use school resources to promote the election. And that is really key. You can inform. It's acceptable for the district to say on your Facebook page, there's a millage election for a 2.59 mil increase. That election date is November 18th. Acceptable. Not acceptable. Go vote yes. This is that can't be done on your page or with your resources. Okay? It's really important. I always give the example. There was a district in the state that got in trouble years and years ago, and what they were doing is they were letting teachers on their off period go to a room that they had set up with phones and call and try to get people to go out and vote yes. So obviously, something like that's not acceptable. But really, gauging your community leaders, that's, you've got elected to your position, you can kind of think through that. And we'll obviously have plenty of time to think about that strategy. The next page is the coverage chart. I know we've looked at a ton of these coverage charts, but this one is sort of getting us to that final 2.59 millage ask and what this will look like. So we have assumed a 5% interest rate on my figures here. If we were to sell these bonds today, I think we'd be closer to 470, maybe even a little bit lower. We've had some movement in the market and not any school bonds sell, so I can't give you a definitive, and these things change hourly. But the point is, we've been conservative on our interest rate assumption. With the 2.95 mil increase, it puts you at that $700,000 surplus that you currently use to operate. So this should be cash neutral or revenue expenditure neutral for this. This will generate you $15.5 million in construction funds. In this scenario, it will also pay off your Series 2015 bonds. And the reason that is to levelize out the payment to make it smooth, where we don't have a larger than necessary payment, but it will be paid off roughly in the same time period. So that is what the ask does. It generates you 15.5. Assuming we get a 5% interest rate, it will keep you at your current debt service coverage, not coverage ratio, but debt service surplus. Does that make sense? I know we've talked about this a lot, but I want to kind of be thorough and make sure we're all on the same page on this, because I know you've heard this a bunch. But the next page is a tax table. So this will allow you to know what this will cost your patrons. So if you'll remember, we look at assessed value, but first we look at appraised value. So appraised value is roughly what you can sell something for, with the caveat of not farmland. Farmland does not fall into this category. But what your home would roughly be sold for is that's the appraised value. 20% of that is the assessed value. So if you had a $100,000 home, 20% of that would be $20,000. Your tax bill would be $715.20, which would be an increase of $59 for your patrons. So this 2.95 mil increase on a $100,000 home will increase the tax bill about $60 or about $5 a month. Now remember, this is real and personal property. Okay, so if you have a $100,000 home, a $25,000 vehicle, you move up one category there, and the increase would be about $74 a year or $6.15 a month. Now, farmland is not done on what you can sell it for, it is done on a usage basis. I sent Dr. Arbuckle some, probably way more information than he wants, to look at the agricultural assessment process. And so I think he's done some calculations on there as well for poultry farms and things of that nature. Questions on any of that? If not, you have a timeline in front of you. So we would adopt the proposed budget of expenditures here tonight, which is the resolution in front of you. So that proposed budget of expenditures is what you do annually. Every year, you publish that. You have to do it because you have to have a millage question every single year. This one is different because it denotes that there would be bonds issued and a millage increase occurring. So you do this action every single year. It's just what is attached and what is published in the proposed budget is different. And it's what is outlined here and what was in your packet for the 2.95 millage increase and the bond issue to pay off the 15s and generate $15.5 million in construction funds. So if you approve the resolution here tonight, I will make sure that your county officials tomorrow receive all the appropriate documentation. That way we meet the 70-day deadline. I think I told you 72 early, but technically now it's a special election, which changes it by 2 weeks. So we'll be well in advance of the 70-day deadline that we would need to make sure the county has all the appropriate documentation at that time. We'll publish the proposed budget expenditures. That has to be done 60 days prior to the November 18th election. So again, still plenty of time for that. We'll make sure it's run. As you can see, we'll receive the proof. We'll file the application with the Department of Education so that they can approve the application to issue bonds, and then you will have the notice of election will be published by the county. That will be on them. And then we will hold the election on November 18th. If successful, you could move forward with executing your bond issue and close it, early January. You don't have to move that quickly. I was just sort of saying this is as fast as you can go. You do not have to move at that pace. If you want to wait till the beginning of next year, till the beginning of next year, January, February, March, I know you've got groundbreaking pretty quickly if this is successful. So we'll want to time that out. We can really map that out. But I was just kind of really also trying to show you, it can be, 60 days from election to cash in hand.
Question, and I think we answered this the last time, but just as a reminder, when it goes on the ballot, is it millage increase and bond restructure together, or are they
It's
separate
one,
votes?
yeah, it's one question. And
Okay.
so if you look, and it's a great question, because if you move to the action item to the resolution, and you look at the information that's provided, you can see the resolution that you would act on states that you're calling the election. It outlines when the election is, and again, the 70 days, the proposed budget. But I say that if you flip past the certificate of the election to the
Okay.
4th page, you will see the proposed budget of expenditures. The proposed budget of expenditures, the last paragraph, starting here after the numbers, that will be roughly what the ballot looks like.
Okay.
So it goes all the way down. You can see the question that's going to be asked, and then the final line there, the 2.95 mil increase, and voters will vote yes or no on that.
Okay.
So it is one question for the ballot.
Okay.
Is it about 8.5 million for the bond issue and about 7.5 for the millage increase, or what's the breakdown on that?
When you say
How much is the millage actually increasing for the 15.5?
2.95,
Well, I understand that, but basically, the money generated from the bond is going to be about the same amount as what
It's gonna be enough to do the school.
I understand.
Basically, the 2.95 is to keep us at our 700,000 operating.
Yes, but basically, how much are we borrowing through the new bond, and how much are we generating from the millage increase? Is it about 8 million to 7 million, or what?
I still don't know if I understand.
Okay, so let me see if this gets your question. Because I think on page 5 of that, it talks about the purpose for applying for approval to issue bonds in the amount of $16,695,000 for the purpose of refunding the August 2015 bonds, that's $280,000, and erecting and equipping new school facilities, that's $16 million, and to pay costs of issuance on the underwriters, $415,000. Is that what you're asking?
Well, basically, we're not asking for the public for the entire amount, for a 15.5 million. The taxpayers are not coming up with 15.5 million because the school is now going to have a payment to pay back, correct?
Yes, and that payment is equivalent.
So what's the balance on that payment we're paying back?
The payment is the revenue that's being generated by the 2.95. So it's a 1-to-1. So the amount that payment is, because you have a bond paying off as well, the amount of that payment is equivalent to the 2.95.
True, But if we didn't have that bond payment to pay back for 30 years or whatever, the taxpayers would be out a lot more money, correct? Because they would have to be coming up with that payment every month. So, I mean, we're basically taking a loan that the school has existed for 30 years, and we're just adding on to that loan another 30 years, right? Correct, the bond?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a 30-year transaction.
So,
It's kind of what we've done before, like on the athletic complex. You know, we did a bond issue and we just extended that debt.
well, if a true millage increase is just going to the taxpayer to pay for it, the school wouldn't have a payment, you know, if it was a true millage. So we've got a bond restructuring and a millage increase all wrapped up in one right here. And so there's got to be a split amount between both. So basically, you know, the loan that we had,
There's about $280,000 in principal left.
I understand that. But the school is paying, you got here, the school is going to be paying per month or per year 1.4 million.
Total, yeah, for your total bond. Because you have other bonds outstanding.
Now, the school, is that going to be
Your
covered
new
by
bond
the?
payment will be around $1 million.
Okay, that's where I need to go. So the new bond payment will be about $1 million, and so basically the millage is contributing about 33% of it, and the school is contributing 66% of it. Because it's a third, the school is contributing a third, and the public is contributing a third, and the school is contributing 2/3.
Are you saying of the total project amount? Are you saying the 35?
The 15.5.
If you're saying, I follow you if you're saying of the $35 million construction project, you're utilizing $12 million of your own funds. And
No, that's not what I'm talking about. So basically, you know, the school, if the school paid off this bond that we've got expiring in 27, right? We would now not have a payment, correct?
Correct.
And so we would save ourselves $1 million a year, right?
No,
Is 700,000 a year?
no. No, the payment on your, are you trying to get at what is the payment on the 2015 bond issue?
No. So, being we have two different things, the millage increase and the bond issue, you know,
They're one and the same though.
well, true, but the bond issue is something that the school is covering, and the millage increase is something the taxpayer is covering, correct?
No.
Not at all.
No, the millage is the revenue to repay the debt. You can't just go levy debt service bills. You have to have a debt payment associated with a debt service bill, or you cannot go legally levy.
But the school is the one writing the check for $1 million still, correct? A
Right,
year.
but it is offset by the revenues coming in off of the millage. The county will collect the millage and deliver it to the school district.
So the school won't actually come up with money out of their own pocket to pay any of this? Is that what you're saying?
Well, how do you want to define out of your pocket?
Well, right now, we're paying out of pocket for that bond that is expiring in 27, right? I mean,
From the millage.
Yes, from your debt service bills, yes. I mean, the money is sent to you
And
from
then-
the county, and
and
then
then
you
we're
turn around and pay it. So, yeah, I mean, it is out of your pocket, I guess, in theory, but no, we're not altering what by restructuring your debt, by increasing your mills, we're offsetting the increase to your overall budget. So the money that will be coming in for the 2.95, and by utilizing the restructuring, you're going to have still the same surplus debt service millage revenues that we talked about as you did previously.
Even though we're adding more debt.
Even though you're adding more debt, because you're increasing your revenues through a millage increase.
Okay.
And by law, that's the only way it can happen, correct?
Correct. If you're going to borrow money, I mean, you could do it on a very, very short term, which we looked at, payment would not make any sense to do it at that.
So give us the alternative if it fails. What can we do between now and next December when construction has to start?
Between now and next December?
Would it be a second lien bond or?
Yeah, I
second
mean,
lien?
in theory, you could do a second lien bond. If you remember, we looked at that, it would very much max out your capacity. You don't have a very far that, so it would be, it's
Not
pretty
advisable.
challenging.
Well, I mean,
Not
we could go back to the voters and just do the bond restructuring, not a millage, correct?
Correct, but to maintain, if you'll remember, to maintain your current surplus.
Yes,
So,
true.
yeah, I mean.
Yes.
It
But if
it
we
does
were to-
not generate nearly the amount you need.
But if we were to drop that 700,000 surplus down to, let's say, 300,000 surplus, so we would be out of pocket about 400,000 a year to cover it a little bit more. So that would generate, if I remember correctly, about 14 million, correct?
That's, I don't have the numbers in front of me, that sounds.
Whenever you came to us about 4 months ago, that's.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. But-
So there is an option to do that, but not, definitely, if the millage fails.
Right, you want to be able to go do it, depending on how quickly you want to move. The quickest you can go back to voters would be March of '26. You'd have to call that election
Yes.
roughly around the time this election would occur.
Yes.
And you know, if you remember through our conversations, the reason we arrived at this is because I think the district is looking at trying to address other needs than just buildings, where you want to make sure personnel are paid, to be competitive on salaries and maintain, you know, the teachers here. And so by putting that much forward in your current budget, it did not seem at the time, or at least from what we heard from our conversations, that that was something that was advisable.
So what you're saying, Michael, as our financial advisor, you don't think that would be in our best interest?
I think it would be a challenge to do the things that you want to do in the future if you move forward in that way. Because from what I've heard in our conversations is we have to address facilities, but we also need to address salary schedule. If all of a sudden you pick up $400,000 of a bond payment, I think it would be much more challenging for you to address your salary schedule. I mean, I think that's pretty fair to say. Now, if it is the will of the board to no longer address the salary schedule, and you would like to reduce your surplus several $100,000, yes, to your point, you do not have to increase your millage rate. But I think it's going to put the district in a bind where you're not going to be able to do the things you want to do in the future.
And I'll just remind the board, that's a 30-year commitment when you start looking at stuff like that.
Basically, if the millage doesn't pass, then we're gonna have to go to the plan B, other than just doing the bond. We're gonna have to spend the money to do whatever we got to for the high school to keep the financial strength of the district.
So one of the things that I think I shared with
So
the
what
board,
you're saying, let me get this square, what you're saying, if that was to happen, then we're gonna have to rethink our plans. We can't build, we cannot build a new high school and gymnasium. That's what we would want to do.
You know, I mean, to generate.
We're not gonna have enough money just to plain and simple it.
I think that's, to do what you want to do, I think that's fair. I mean, in theory, you could do it, but I don't know how you can accomplish all the things you want to do if you're going to take on that much of the payment. That was the whole discussion. You know, there were
What it amounts
discussions.
to, we can afford a Chevrolet, we don't need to try to buy a Cadillac.
Well, the issue is you don't want the rest of the district to suffer because of one project. I mean,
Well-
that was where we were.
I just want to point out then, if that's what he's saying, to me, holding an election like this in November makes 0 sense now. Because you're putting yourself under the gun. And then if you do it in March, like we talked about, is to give yourself more time to get this campaign out, there is no plan B.
But-
What we
But
thought
we
was,
can't do it in March.
well, yes, we can.
We can, but you have to vote on the bond. So if you wait till March.
He just said the bond is not a very smart idea to do.
No, but it's gotta be in
It's
with
like-
the
he's talking
millage
about a
at the
new
same
one.
time.
I don't,
Restructuring our current bond has to be
Yeah, no,
voted
I
on.
think you misheard me. This plan right here with a 2.95 mil increase makes sense.
Yeah.
If you were to alter it to where you had no new mills, I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
That's what I'm saying. If you do it in November and it doesn't pass with the no new mills, there isn't a backup plan to
But
get
you
this
still
new,
have to get the bond.
to get this
voted
new
for.
school built.
But this would be with new mills.
well,
That's what you're.
there is a plan because you came to us 4 to 6 months ago and told us that was a path. Yes, we're gonna be out more money than we planned on. Instead of having 700,000 surplus, we may have 0 surplus, okay? That's where we can get our.
I will not put the financial strain on the district. I will not vote for that.
Well, remember, the last meeting, I showed everyone that the school has come up with 1.4 million extra on top of the interest payment, the interest we receive. So that's kind
You're
of.
saying you won't point that out, you're making my point. If the millage, what he's saying right here, doesn't pass, let me speak, please.
Go ahead.
If he doesn't pass because of the mills, no one wants a new mills. What Chad's proposing is doing the backup thing with each end, so there is no backup. If this doesn't pass as is, moving forward with the school, it's not going to be financially feasible.
It's not.
Without changing that 700,000 down to whatever number it takes to make it happen at the current state. Am I misunderstanding that?
Well,
No, that would be, I mean, and I think you
and
would
when you
have.
do, you lose, here's my fear, you lose that revenue that you have, but you're doing all the other maintenance. You're doing teacher salary increase, you're doing, all the things day to day you have to do for kids. You lose that. You don't have it anymore.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, basically what he's saying, without the increase of millage, okay, and we do it the way Chad's talking about, it's financially possible. Did I say it's smart? I'm not saying it is.
Yeah.
But my point is, if that's the way the board wants to vote and say, we're not gonna put ourselves in that financial position, then if the millage doesn't pass, we're not building the school as is. So that goes back to my point, why rush this if we're only gonna get one crack at it?
What if
Having a
our
March
time-
election
we're on
as a
a-
backup plan is not gonna help
I
us.
understand.
We're on
what
a
you're saying.
timetable so far as the funding, correct?
Yes.
But you're not getting one crack at it, so if the millage
7
fails in
million.
November, so does the bond restructure. So then you have to come back in March and ask for the bond again, or you can't even do that.
So I provided y'all with if you look at the frequently asked questions, and I think I sent those because I worked on them this weekend. There at the last page, what is a plan B? There are two options there that I've included that are possible that don't include either one of these options we're talking about right now. So my point with bringing that up is the millage ask, which I believe after looking at it for over a year now, is the best option for the district, given the conversations that I've had with Michael, that I've had with Todd and Nathan and Brock and others. I think that's the best option. If the board decides, or if the community says, nope, we're not going to approve that, that's not the best option, what Chad's talking about is an option, but there are other options. And it would be one of those other options that I would recommend, because you're talking about putting the district in a financial hard place for a long, long time. Much longer than, this group is going to be together on this.
I just want to be
board.
clear, I'm not advocating for that avenue. I'm just trying to clarify, I still stand on the hill I stand on. Doing it in November, you're running down the same path you ran down the last two times. You're asking for a millage increase, and the public has no idea what's going on.
Well, that would be disappointing based on the number of individual one-on-one conversations with key stakeholders that I've had and that Craig has had and that Craig and I have had together.
We're
In
apparently not
fact,
talking to the same people.
Huh?
Because I do the same thing.
Right.
I have the same ability as you, and that's not what those people are telling me.
then and I'll be glad to talk to anybody. I just need the names,
I'll be happy to give them to you.
and that's great.
As far as what I'm saying with
Can you
this
two get
is-
together and get them people?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and
Exactly.
It would be atypical for this point of an election campaign to have the public not, because you don't know, you've not solidified your ask yet. It's hard to go have a conversation and say, this is what we're doing. You can say, in theory, this is what we're thinking about doing, but once you've acted, that's when things start getting published, that's when the county gets notified, that's when you start scheduling your public meetings, that's when you get the information. So I hear what you're saying, but it's also very challenging to get the information out before you know the information. Does that make sense?
I mean, we'll just have to agree to disagree. I don't see it that way. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but that's just not.
Because there's a point in which you call the election to the point in which you hold the election, and you're going to be doing it roughly the same amount of time prior to that election, regardless. So if you're going in March of 26, we're going to be here, we'd probably call it around November. So you'd be still at that same ramp up. So all the tax questions we're calling for November are happening right now. There have been some that are a little bit earlier, there will be some that are a little bit later. You're right in kind of the middle of, and I'm not just schools, you know, cities, counties that are looking at doing this. You're right, you're not late, you're not early, I mean, you're kind of right in the middle where I see people
Well,
call.
it's not so much the timeline, I think the order of the process has not been, from what I'm hearing from people that talk to me, we're going down the same path we did last time. I'm just telling you what the people I talk to are telling me.
So far as what I was saying, this is our plan A, I think. And our plan B, if it doesn't pass, we use our money that is in our building fund to get our high school compliant. Because, like I say, I don't think just doing the bond is an option.
And I do want to point out, and this was brought up again by Dr. Stein in a conversation we had earlier today, the state is only contributing money for new construction. So if we have to do anything like a remodel or because of finances, that $7.5 million, it's 7.458, but I'm gonna say it's $7.5 million, goes away, and we're doing it all on our own. The other thing is, I'm gonna say this only works if everybody's in agreement. Right, if we're not in agreement, if the board's not in agreement, then it's gonna be an uphill slog.
Well, you know where I stand on it. I'm not voting for it, but I mean, I told you guys, I'm not gonna sabotage you or nothing, I mean. So.
Well, I'm talking about it like in our meeting,
Okay.
right? I'm talking about like here, not in the voting box. How you vote in the voting box is up to you. But moving forward, it's going to be really difficult if the board is not able to move forward as a whole, in my opinion.
Well, again, you guys, if you ask for a vote tonight, I'm not voting for it. I've told you guys I will never vote for a tax increase. But I mean, I assumed you knew that. But, I think there's alternative ways to do this. And I've told you that for several months, for years.
I think when we look at the surrounding districts and look at everybody, I mean,
I want to be clear that I am for this 100%. We need a village increase, we need a new school. I don't think we're asking for enough.
I mean, I don't think we are either, but I also think we have to look at, like, you have to look at us compared to other districts. I mean, even with our millage increase that we're requesting, we have 1,881 students sitting right in the middle of Hillcrest, who has 405, Hoxie, who has 793, Piggott at 732, and here we are right in the middle of it at 1,881. You don't even get up with comparable schools until you get to 37 mil, and that's at Greene County Tech. So we can't operate like a school of 2,000 kids on a budget like the school of Marmaduke. Like, we just can't. And I understand that the mills bring more based on what's in the community and the housing and the farming and all that, but I mean, was it, you said like Marion or West Memphis? I mean, their mill is like ungodly compared to ours. So, I mean, I just think that when you look at where we're sitting, we should be way down here on the page with these more comparable schools, and we're not. And that's a problem. I mean, that's a problem.
And to me, that's where I'm saying I feel like we're rushing the timeline. I don't think our community understands this. Put this out there, let them see this, maybe that's what generates them to get out and vote for the millage, et cetera. Instead of just saying, here's the millage that we think we should get to build a school that we can't even show you yet because it's not even drawn up.
But I think
Well,
we can.
one thing, I think, and I agree with what you were saying, God, there's some benefits in March, but going into the fall, there's interest in the school. The parents are interested, the kids are back to school, there's a lot of interest, you've got sports starting up, and there's a lot of things going on. I think that's the perfect time to engage those parents and we would have September, October, and part of November, so 2.5 months.
I agree, Mr. Gary, what you're missing.
I don't know.
You're missing what I'm saying. I think that I agree with you 100%. I just don't think we're asking for enough to do everything that we've talked about doing. So, but you've got to you're making that decision
Yeah.
tonight without talking to the community. Now you're going out there, because we passed this millage, you're not getting another one around here.
Let me ask you this, Chris, do you think if we ask for more, it's more likely to pass?
I think if the public has more understanding of how the money works and where it comes from and what you have to have it for, yes, I think you could get what you were asking for, because it's their school. When you get a 2.95 millage and they see what that actually builds, I think they're going to be highly disappointed, because they're still looking at surrounding school districts. And I understand they're not comparable because of the way village works, but when they go to Brooklyn and see all these new fancy buildings and stuff, they're not getting that with this. They're getting a high school and a gym. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else about the school is going to change.
Well,
The
I
campus isn't going to look any different.
It's up to us to educate the public. This is what it is. How do we do that?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. We're asking for the number before we've had a chance to educate them on that, in my opinion.
Well, we gotta set the numbers now.
If we do it for November, we have to set.
How do you, I mean, I'm not questioning.
Yeah.
How do you go about getting that information to them?
We gotta go to them, just like I said before, you can't have public forums. Wherever they're meeting, we have to find a way to go to them. I've said this since the spring, and we've had 0 meetings set up.
Yeah, I mean,
Zero.
because I guess I'm a little confused on what I would be meeting, like, what am I sharing? Because I don't have anything to share.
They're gonna be asking how much millage, what's it gonna do?
Right. They're not,
Like, you're right, we need that information out there, but we don't have that information until we make these steps.
I think going at it as like, this is the mill, this is the money a mill will bring, this is what we're contributing, this is what the state's contributing, and what do you want to see in a school? Like, going at it from that direction is going to get a better, but I mean, I think it's going to get a better outcome than it did the last, and I'm not, I hate saying than the last time when I go to Gary, but the last time it was like, oh, we want this is what we're doing, this is the plan, this is what it's going to look like, here you go, this is where you give us this. And there was no opportunity for
Right,
that.
and that's what I'm saying. That's when you say, here's the millage it takes to build a school that the state is
But I
requiring
think
us
that's
to
what we're
build.
doing. It's
To get the
saying-
7.5 mil. Now, I've had people talk to me about all the other things they want. So then you put that on this end and say, here's how much it costs to build that school, and here's the millage difference. Now, we can do this or anything in between, but it's up to how many mills we pass to make that happen.
Well, I think what we're talking about here is staying within our budget, which I think is important. You know, we can afford to do this. I think that's wise use of the public's money. We can afford to do that. Now, you're right, absolute record. We have to get that information to people. You know, last time we had public meetings, they were well attended. We had probably 200 or 300 people at those meetings. They asked a lot of good questions. So that's one avenue. We need other avenues, get the word out there. But one of the big things is, you know, if you're going to build a facility, like Batesville Southside or something, I don't know, something, Nathan can probably help me on that. That costs a lot more money. We're operating on 35 mills. We don't have the
We're
money.
operating on that because that's what we're asking for.
Right. But I think if you try to get too much, I think it just turns.
Are we higher or lower than last time?
Lower.
You know, I think the consensus with most people on, so far as what I've heard on the millage, from the last time to this time, I don't think we can even ask for what they asked for last time and it passed. Because most people do not want to pay any more taxes
And those same people
than
are
they
gonna
have
vote
to.
the exact same way this time because they're like Chad, they're not gonna vote to increase taxes,
That's true.
period. But what about the ones who just didn't vote for it because they didn't know what you were doing with it? Because I've heard that numerous times. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm the most recently elected and people came to me to run for the school board for a reason. And I heard the same thing, and if we're talking about zones, these people are all in my zone, which is just right across the street right here, right in the heart of town. So they
I
are.
think that's where, you know, we have to develop, and I think that we've got some We got some help on that whole
Well, and there's
thing.
still, to me, that's the other thing, there's still too many unknowns on what ballpark numbers are versus what are actual real numbers on how much the school's gonna cost. I mean, I just,
Unfortunately, you know, as we've talked, it's just the way that Arkansas elections are set up, if that's how you're gonna be, you have to utilize a high-end estimate and hope you're right. I mean, it's just, I know that's not
I
great,
mean,
but
I
that's
get
how
it.
the state law works.
but my thing was, I just wanted to voice my opinion. It isn't, at the end of the day, I'm 1 of 5, so it doesn't matter. The other 4 can vote however they
Your
want
point's
to.
well taken, Chris. It makes sense. So,
Well, I will say, I do know that I have had people telling me that they've heard chatter about it. And I mean, I appreciate that you are talking to who you are talking to. I have heard things being said about it, but I don't, I know
Well-
there can be more.
Well, and it is a fine line because, I mean, I'm
It's hard to
gonna,
give information
I'm
we're
gonna
not real sure about.
jump off something that Michael talked about. I'm not gonna get out in front of the board, right? The conversations I've had is, we're looking at 2.98, we're looking at 2.95, but I'm not gonna get out in front of the board because I don't make that decision, right? This board does. And so, you know, the first time I'm gonna publicly stand up and say, this is what we're doing, is after the board makes that decision where I have some confidence that that's the direction that we're gonna go. And so I guess I'm gonna come back to, it's very difficult to stand in front of a group of people and say, this is what we want to do, because the first question they're going to ask me is, well, how much is it going to cost us? And, you know, I mean, until the board makes that determination of how much are we willing to ask for, which I think really goes back to how much can we pass. In the conversations I've had, I have been asked on numerous occasions, can you do it for less than 2.95? I have not had any conversation yet, somebody say, well, what can you do if we give you more? Right? And so I think that's that piece of, we have to, I mean, this is what I think the community is willing to pass. Do I think that we could, you know, this community deserves more? Yes, I do. Would it take more millage rate? Yes, it would, to get us, and it would be close. You have to bite. I mean, it's one bite at a time, right?
well, I think, you know, overall, I think things keep running over my mind. We've got to do something for our kids. Our kids do not have the same opportunities that other kids. Our teachers don't have the same opportunities because of a lack of facilities. And I think we've got to come together as a board and decide, you know, what can we do to get our kids in an academic facility and a gymnasium that competes with other kids. And I think the plan we've got does that at a reasonable rate. It's up to the public whether or not they want our kids to do that.
And I think that's good timing. We have a lot of schools around us that are building new facilities, so it's
Yeah.
like others.
Well, like after the last election, I had a 12-year-old girl come to me and said, we're not getting a new school, are we, and stuff. She said, with tears in her eyes, she said, what did we do wrong? It's us kids, isn't it? Guys, I'm telling you, we gotta find a way to get these kids in a building. We've got to do it. I don't know what that answer is, but we desperately need a high school facility and a gymnasium, but.
Like I
we got-
said, I'll just want to be noted that I'm not against this. I will vote for any millage increase. I just don't know that we're doing enough. That's just where I stand.
You know, just kind of put it in a realistic, you know, as much as we have poultry farmers now in, you know, our area, you take a broiler farm, at the current proposed, each broiler, if you take somebody that has 10 broiler houses, it's gonna go up $126 per house. So they're looking at
1,160.
26 or so. So if we doubled it to 6, you know, you're looking at $2,500 for that person, additional property tax. I think it's gonna be a hard sell for any of the poultry even at 295.
They're gonna have to have an investment in it. I mean, they're gonna have to see it as,
They're gonna be the ones that are, they're going to be the ones that are hit the hardest.
they were the ones last time. I mean,
Yes.
I think the best time to get this passed is November, just because it's a special election. You've heard me say that. I think you guys are on an uphill battle, or we're on an uphill battle to get it passed in November. But I feel like November would be the best thing because it's a special election.
Man, we don't really have a choice, because if we don't, we have to get that bond anyway. We have to come back to the bond and separate
You
them
could, I mean, you could always put it to the second. Circuit.
I just, like I said, I think this is kind of a one-shot deal. Have we had any estimates as far as if we use our money to get the building compliant, what it would cost us?
No, I mean, we were talking, Craig and I were talking about that today.
I mean, that's
I've
going to
started
be,
that
I
process,
think
but
that's
I don't
going to be
have.
I think that will be our plan B, honestly, because like I say, I think doing the bond restructuring is going to put us, too financially strapped.
Well, keep in mind, we don't have to build 84,000 right off the bat. We can build 40,000 or 50,000 or 60,000.
But don't you have to build what the state says you have to build to be able to get the money?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was 70?
What's that, 60?
Right now, Todd's got it drawn up at, go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, I would say you might be able to build something for 50,000 square feet. You might be able to squeeze it in there,
Gotcha, okay.
not including the gym.
Yeah,
And we can still get all the money except for the gymnasium.
yeah.
Which is half the money. I mean, essentially.
I've got 60,000 square foot school, I've got a little extra space. I think there's an official way to lay it out that minimizes corridors. So I think you might be able to squeeze it out there.
So what do you need as far as a vote?
Well, and so you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we would need a motion to approve the millage election resolution as presented. That would be the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the millage and bond election as presented. Everybody in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. No. Motion passes 4-1.
Okay. So do we need to take a,
We can do signatures after, it's whatever you want to do. But just don't run off.
You want to stay another couple hours?
I don't think it'll take that long.
No, we're not that long, are we?
You good?
Yeah, I'm fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
You wanna go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Let's go ahead and go now so you can back off.
Secretary.
Whatever you got.
What was that 2.25% interest rate I saw there?
2.25, that would have probably been on
You
the
just named
15s.
the president, secretary, right?
That was back in 2015.
Yeah, that was the 15, or what is left on the 15s.
Wow.
You need to sign that.
Show you. Sign the paper.
Rubber stamp.
It's not a big deal, that letter I sent.
I do, I mean, I have it, but I should have. Okay. I'll do that first thing in the morning.
Yeah, there's no rush, these things aren't due for quite some time, but we're gonna get it early.
So don't sound like we should change
Actually, my son goes to their diplomas because they didn't want people to be like, who's that guy that gave me a diploma?
everything.
Practice
Okay,
for months.
so y'all know the process. What will happen is I will publish the proposed budget of expenditures in the local paper. as quick as they can get it in is how quickly I will get it in there. That will be out there, it will denote the millage increase. Obviously, I'll get everything to the county. So now it is time to start thinking about, how you want to get out in front of the public, who you want to go talking to. Obviously, if y'all want to have a call, talk about that, tomorrow we can do that. Obviously, I think we want to hit the ground running. I know you've got drawings that are being put together. I know Nabholz, I've seen their marketing team do some amazing work with some things. I know the last time they did it. So I think it's time to start to pivot to that conversation and really get out there and make sure everybody knows what's going on. And anything I can do that you'd like me to be at to help through that. I don't think it's good if I'm leading the discussion. I'm always happy to be there at the discussion if I can add something, but I don't think people like, some guy in a suit and let her out tell them their taxes need to go up. So keep that in mind as well. But where any meeting you need me at any time, I don't care, if you can come up here and do a lunch with, all the churches, or, we need to go talk to the Chamber of Commerce, or whatever you need me to be there, I will be. So know that. But it's time to move to the next phase.
I appreciate it.
Thank you all for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to take a little break?
Yes,
Gary,
take
get
it back in case anybody.
We're going to take a break, 5-minute break, 10-minute break.
Okay, you're back on.
Meeting is back in session for the Pocahontas School District. And open up for Dr. Arbuckle.
Okay, so our next item is item 4.4. This is the property insurance. We finally got our information from the new Office of Property Risk. Just to give you a quick summary, remember previously the Arkansas School Board Association handled our property insurance. During the last legislative session, the legislature created what they called the state captive property insurance program. So this is now operated out of the newly developed Office of Property Risk. You will see there the total premium. We no longer, just to be clear, we no longer have the ability to shop our insurance. So school districts, cities, higher ed organizations are now operating through this Office of Property Risk. So you can see there that that first section lists the values and deductibles. So our deductible was $5,000 across the board for everything last year. This year, the deductible has been raised to $25,000. That is in statute. So if your buildings are valued at less than $100 million, it's $25,000 for the deductible. If the buildings are valued at $100 million, then that deductible goes up to $50,000.
That is per occurrence.
Yes, it is. Now, the premium is relatively the same for this year. I would expect next year the deductibles to be raised again, because the message that we have gotten so far is that over the course of the next few years, deductibles will be raised. It's possible that the premiums will go up. The message is the legislature expects the premiums to go down, but I do expect the deductibles to go up. So we are currently operating under this coverage. This coverage began July 1st. The reason you're not seeing it until now is because the state did not provide it to school districts until last week, basically. So really, it is an action item because the total premium is what it is, $139,170.64. But I do not have another option to bring to you. So the recommendation is that the board would approve the coverage as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to approve this property coverage as stated. Everybody in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 5-0.
Item 4.5 is our iReady testing suite. Last year we implemented iReady testing in grades 4 and above. This year, and we did Ames Web at the elementary school. This year, we would like to do iReady across all of our grades, and so you have a quote there for $70,188 to cover the iReady product, use of that product in all 4 of our schools going forward. So we would ask for motion to approve iReady as our as a testing platform for this year.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
The motion is second to approve this iReady quote. Everybody in favor say yes.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We have item 4.6. This is a Challenge Solutions MOU. You have in your packet just the agreement there, the purpose. If you have any questions, Courtney's in the meeting and can answer any of those questions for you. Courtney, is there anything you think the board needs to be aware of?
No, this is essentially the same contract we had last year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this Challenge Solutions Incorporated agreement. Everybody in favor say yes. Yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, so now you have so we talked about revisiting item 4.1. Would you like to do that now, or would you like to go into executive session, talk about the personnel, and then come back out and deal with that at that time? Huh?
Go back.
Okay, going back?
Yeah.
All right, so item 4.1, this is the term length resolution. Really, the choice of the board is to do the term lengths with or without the zones. So once, if somebody wants to make a motion, you would just need to make the motion to.
Let me tell you guys my plans. I mean, I moved into town, into his zone. I'm not planning on running again, no matter what I did. So in March, we're gonna have to find someone from my zone, So, I mean,
Well,
if that makes you.
and that's why I made the point a while ago. I don't know Richmond, I've been here a long time, and obviously, Celeste, step forward involved there too.
Yeah.
So, and my concern is having the inexperience, no matter who it is. Because I'm telling you guys, I've been around here 30 years. Experience really.
Well, what I'm saying is if you limit it to just a smaller group, you may be, one person runs in that district and they're gonna be voted in, no matter what. There's one person running.
Right. That's
So
now-
it'd be better if you could open it up for
Well,
more of a,
Chris might have heard that.
and then let the public decide that person is more qualified than the other two. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, you want people,
So,
Chris
yeah.
hit the nail on the head, you want people that want to help
Yeah.
kids. They want to serve on the board to help kids.
I think it'd be easier if you opened it up. And being I might be the only one not running again, everyone's gonna go onto my seat. And there'll be 6 people trying to go for my seat, and you guys won't have anybody in your district, or your
Here's
seat.
the one that- And the reason I asked the question, can this be done at any time? It would be my thought, let's move forward with keeping zones. We can always change them at some point, which it might be next month, 6 months from now. But the board would have the option of changing them. That would at least guarantee that we're going to have some people on the board with some experience. Because this is critical. Jennifer made a very, very good point. It's critical right now that we come together as a board and we work together. And having a totally new person, because it takes a full term to really learn kind of how everything works.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but still, goes to March. All the decisions you're talking about need to be made with an experienced board will have already been made by the time the election goes around.
Well,
In my opinion, because we're under the gun. as
No,
far as
I think the more-
the shovel and dirt, right? So by March, all the big decisions will have been made because we'll have to have made them.
no, I'm not really talking about the building. I'm talking about general, knowledge of how the school works. It takes a full 5-year term to really learn how that works.
Let's just vote on it. I make a motion, we stay with the 6-year terms and keep the zones.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to continue like we are, keep the zones. Everybody in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Everybody opposed, say no.
No.
Motion passes 4-1.
I need to vote.
Oh,
Oh,
Do you want to do a roll call vote so we're not, I get the right one here? So Brent?
make the motion.
Right, so yes or
Yes.
no?
I'm a yes.
Gary, Chad,
I'm yes for now.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay, so I've got 4-1.
Motion passes 4-1.
Okay, so at this time, we have the personnel agenda, and I would request we go into executive session. to
Motion
deal
to go
with
into
that.
executive session for purposes of employment.
Board's going to go into executive session for purposes of employment. All right, Pocahontas School Board, board meeting is back in session. Do you have a recommendation, Dr. Arbuckle?
Yeah, so would recommend the approval of the personnel agenda. This includes the resignations of Zach Avery in his bus driver position. This does not impact his other position within the district. Also, a resignation by Claudia Spradlin at the junior high. We're recommending the hiring of Anthony Brewington for a half-route bus driver, Lori Steimel as a half-route bus driver, Jennifer McHouston as a bus driver, Melissa Bickers to fill the MD Williams paraprofessional position, and Jordan Ferris for a junior high English position. Now, as a part of that, and I didn't mention this earlier, but we'll be transitioning Pat Bodenheimer into the social studies position. So we.
She's certified in that.
She is, yes. She has already passed the praxis on that. So that will give us someone who's passed the praxis in both social studies and English. So we just need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve these recommendations and new hires. Everybody in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 5-0.
You have in your packet the student transfers that were received as of this morning or this afternoon. Those have been approved, so those are being approved. Those are an informational item only. Obviously, if there's any other questions or any other business of the board, be happy to address that. Otherwise, we just need a motion for adjournment.
What day is the next meeting?
It's August 20, is it 18th? I was gonna say, yeah, 18th.
18th.
Yes, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.